What is your all-time most embarrassing moment? Story 1. Was on an airplane years ago with my girlfriend and her parents. My girlfriend couldn't get a seat next to me and sat directly behind me. During the flight, I thought I would surprise her and reached my hand back onto her knee. Slowly, I kept extending it up her thigh until I heard giggling. Looking behind through the seats and saw that my hand was on the leg of the guy next to her. She saw my face and said, "I just wanted to see how far you'd go." Of course, my girlfriend was in on it and started laughing along with the rest of the row. I was so embarrassed. Story 2. I was on a date, and we decided to go to sushi, one of those decently affordable but kinda sketchy ones. I was really craving Korean short ribs, cause that's definitely the best. Behold, the sushi restaurant had it on the menu. Fantastic. I ate it, and it was delicious. But on the bus ride home, my tummy started to feel a little rumbly, which was no big deal as we would be home in 20. Well, over the course of that bus ride, it turned into a grave situation. Water at the floodgates kind of thing. But I was off the bus now and we started our 5-minute walk home. I made it about 40 steps and it all started pouring out. The date was next to me, who was aware of my rumbly tum-tums. And I just said, "Oh no, it's happening." The only thing that saved me was that there was an area off the side where it was dark and no one would see me. I hid until my date got back with a pair of pants. I left the pants behind. I'm really sorry to whoever found that. I made him swear on his mom's grave that he would never tell anyone. We broke up, and to this day I still wonder if he kept his promise. By the way, never eat anything other than Japanese food at a sushi restaurant, or you will your pants. Story 3. The number of times I have been misled into thinking someone was trying to high-five me and then going in for it. I've wanted to disappear from the face of the earth every time. Story 4. I had a great day at a water park / outdoor pool, and towards the afternoon a woman came up to me and whispered in my ear that I have a problem with my swimsuit. I reached behind and noticed a huge gap. The fabric was torn right in the middle and you could see my white, untanned crack. I was running around like this all day and no one said anything. Story 5. I was at an NFL game and something I had eaten earlier had just wrecked my stomach and left me with horrible gas. Like the kind which clears a room. It is so bad. I was walking up the stairs to my seat mid-game and really had to let one rip. Right then the crowd cheered and I thought the moment was right. What I didn't realize is that my ass was at the same level as a woman sitting in her seat on the aisle, and I literally farted right in her ear. I looked back at her as she looked at me with shock and disgust. I quickly turned away and climbed the stairs as fast as I could and blended into the crowd. I still think about her from time to time and how horrible that must have truly been for her and just cringe at what an idiot I was. Reply 1. I had something very similar happen to me once. I had just got off the train to work and was strolling up the hill to the office when I felt a pressing urge to let one fly. There was no one around, so I let her rip, figuring it wouldn't be anything too out of the ordinary. But I miscalculated badly. It was a much bigger proposition than I thought it would be. It was enormous, loud, raucous, and a true dog frightener. I was just in the process of congratulating myself on birthing such a monster without even breaking stride when a small woman, all dressed for the office, went hurrying by, her stilettos tacking on the concrete path. The realization didn't really hit me for about 5 seconds, but she would have been only a pace or two behind me when I let fly, and she was obviously hurrying to put as much distance between me and her as humanly possible. Oh God, I was so bloody embarrassed. I ducked into the nearest doorway and let her get a good 100 meters up the road before I continued on my way. Story 6. The night I turned 21. I was in Vegas with my mother, older sister, and her husband. I turned 21 technically a few minutes prior, and because we had just gotten out of a show, we walked inside the nearest bar to the theater, which happened to be a loud, packed, jungle-themed bar called Kahunaville. My family walks up to the bartender, points to me, and proudly proclaims that it is my 21st birthday, expecting some kind of special treatment. The bartender visibly rolls his eyes and takes our drink orders without saying anything else. We were so turned off, but figured we could at least celebrate my first legal drink, and then go somewhere else more welcoming. After a few minutes, everyone has their drinks except for me. The bartender stands up on top of the bar top and has a microphone. He gets the attention of the crowded bar. "Excuse me, I'd like to let everyone know that it's this young lady's," points at me, "21st birthday." The whole bar erupts. Super embarrassing, or so I thought. until the bartender takes a seat on the bar top with his 2 feet resting on top of 2 bar stools and his legs spread facing me. He turns around and pulls out a huge drink in a large hurricane glass, complete with a long banana sticking out of the top of it. Needless to say, there was no straw. Still sitting on top of the bar with his legs spread, he places his drink between his legs, and in front of the packed bar, he invites me to take a drink with no hands. Now, I'm a great sport, and the bar is cheering me on, but my mother is 2 feet away from me. I looked at my sister, who shrugged and gave me the "we're in Vegas" look. So I took a deep breath and went to town on the banana with my hands behind my back. All while the bartender gives me the best "oh" face to the crowd, but mostly to my mother. We left the bar, and how relieved I was to hear my mom say, "That was awesome." Kudos to that bartender for pretending to be an only to put on a great show. I've come to learn to stop being embarrassed in front of my parents about this kind of stuff. She probably did this too back when she was your age. We all think for some reason that our parents were all saints and didn't do anything bad when they were young, while in fact, they were probably doing even worse things than we do now. Story 7. This was during my sophomore year in math class. I sat between 2 gentlemen and was really congested that day, and thus pretty tired at the same time. I was resting my head in my hand and hunched over my math book when I felt a sneeze coming. I went to lean back, but apparently didn't move quick enough when the force of this sneeze sent my face hurling into my desk. My head smacked the desk so hard that I bounced back up like a basketball. At that point, I was just dizzy and like, Meanwhile, the 2 guys next to me just completely lose their shit. The one on the right is howling with laughter. The one on the left has his face in his hands and is snorting. The teacher looked at us so confused, and all I could say was, "I sneezed." Story 8. I wasn't there when it happened, but I have like residual embarrassment because I sent my wife a naked picture of me, and she opened her phone screen to show something to her family, and oh, I have a message from my honey. What could this be? Oh God. Story 9. I don't know if it was more cringeworthy than embarrassing, but thinking back, I definitely grimace. I was in kindergarten and was playing in the sandbox at recess one day with my friend. We were making a sandcastle, but didn't have any sand that was wet enough to form a solid structure. I had been holding my for a while, and being 5 years old, I didn't want to stop playing. So I let it out while I was sitting and promptly let my friend know that I had magically found some wet sand that we could build with, and no one was the wiser. We built a damn good castle. Sorry, Matthew. Story 10. Recently went on a vacation with some friends, plus a mutual friend who I don't know that well. Him and I took the pull-out couches, and his was right next to the bathroom. Later one night, when we were all walking around away from our hotel, I got the stomach rumbles. Then the nausea hit. I have never felt so sick in my whole life. I felt like someone was grabbing my insides and twisting them. The second we got back to our hotel, I made a beeline for the bathroom. Through that paper-thin wall, this guy I barely knew heard me shit pure liquid out of my butt, complete with loud, wet farts, cry and vomit in a trash can in front of me. I spent the rest of the night shivering in bed and making runs to the bathroom. I hit the "been married for a decade" barrier with them in a single night. Food poisoning is pure evil. I think how violent the food poisoning was actually saved you a bit there. If it was either just vomiting or diarrhea, they would have had an element of doubt over whether or not you were really sick or just very extreme in bathroom etiquette. The fact it was a combination of the two probably excused it, and he just felt sorry for you. Story 11. I had made a short film that had gotten into a festival, and I had to travel down to Busan from Seoul on the fast train. Super expensive. I was looking good, wearing cool clothes, including a pair of leather shoes, and it was a mistake. By the time I left the subway in Busan and walked 100 meters towards the theater, where I was due to give a speech, the top of one of my shoes was starting to flap. I managed to hook my big toe over it to hold it down, but the slides were now lifting up. People I was passing were starting to notice, as it looked like I had a club foot. In the end, I had to take the shoe off and throw it away. I now had one shoe and a limp. This was in an area full of apartments, no shops, not even a convenience store. I hopped along, but the other shoe came apart and I had to throw that away. What the should I do? I'm in an unfamiliar city, shoeless, and on top of that, the glue had left big black oily patches on my feet. I walked shoeless to the theater. If you know Korea at all, you know how well-dressed people are. I honestly didn't know what I should do. Not go? Even though I was expected and would ruin my reputation, I honestly felt like crying. I made it to the theater and was ushered to the front before I could explain my situation to my co-director. I had to give a speech shoeless and with oily feet to people. I was trying to impress. Then I had to walk to find a store shoeless. Not the most embarrassing, but definitely stands out as one of the most hopeless situations I have been in. In the end, I had to buy shoes from a department store. Not only were they $300 designer sneakers, they were too big, so looked like clown shoes. I couldn't sell them because they were full of oil from my dirty feet. Worst trip of my life. Story 12. When I was about 8 years old, we took a field trip to the Field Museum here in Chicago. We had a lunch break and I wandered off to the gift shop to see what they had. I had a huge crush on this girl named Victoria in my class, and I saw this ladybug ring for a couple of dollars. I knew she liked ladybugs, and I had money my parents gave me to buy something at the shop. So I decided to buy the ring and give it to her. I was really nervous and kept waiting for the right time to do it. I eventually decided to just go for it and walked up to her near the end of the trip. She was with some of her friends, which made me more nervous, but I found the courage to do it. She looked at the ring and laughed. Her friends joined her, and she then tossed the ring in the trash. I was completely devastated and tried hard to hold back my tears. Even though I'm over it now, that completely my confidence with girls for a long time. Looking back, I may have embarrassed her too, giving it to her in front of her friends, which is why she reacted that way. But whatever the case, it's probably the most embarrassing I have been in my life. Story 13. I still think of it when I walk into the offices at work. Usually when I arrive, there's nobody there, and I go ahead and do my thing. Walked into work, music blasting out of my earbuds, doing the Footloose dance to do a swirl, and turn around to see a full conference room of people just staring at me for a solid 10 seconds. Didn't know there was an early meeting that day. You should have continued dancing and showed them who's the alpha. Story 14. I went to a small school with about 2 classes per grade. I didn't get along very well with a lot of the kids there. I didn't get along with the popular guy in school, but I had my small group of friends. However, there were not many girls at our school, and I didn't socialize with any of them that were worth talking to. That changed when a new girl came to our school in the 6th grade. Over the first few months of school, we became friends, and I got her number to talk to her outside of school. Things are going great, and I ended up asking her out, and she said yes. Word started getting around that we were dating, like the next day, and the popular guy in school informed me that I was too much of a loser to be dating her, and that he was gonna get her to go out with him instead. He was not interested in her prior to me asking her out. Later that week, a kid in our class was having a birthday party at his house, and everyone in school was invited. I didn't like the kid, so I planned on not going. I asked my new girlfriend if she was gonna go, and she said she wasn't going either, so we planned to talk on the phone that night. She called me later that night to chat. I don't remember the whole conversation, but I do remember her asking questions about why I liked her and why I asked her out, etc. At some point, she informed me that she didn't want to go out with me anymore. She was gonna go out with the popular guy in school. Right then, I heard the laughter of practically everyone in our class, but most of all, I could hear the obnoxious laughter of the popular guy in school. She had called me from the party with our whole class listening to the call to ask me why I liked her, just to let me know she was going to date the popular kid instead of me. I've had a lot of embarrassing moments in my life, but nothing quite compares to that.
Please leave your story down below in the comments. I would absolutely love to make a video about them in the future. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace.